Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Back after a week hiatus, and was going to talk this week in our Building Stronger Families class about communication. Okay, so this class is what makes me the most nervous of all my classes, because it's the most prone to getting you in trouble. However, I'm with a mostly female audience. I know that my trouble is going to come from one side of the aisle and not both sides of the aisle. So I'm somewhat okay with that. But we can still go over a lot of things about communication. And you're going to be like, Mark, what in the world did you bring here, and what are you doing with the trash can sitting on the dais here? All right, so who can tell me what you think the most common arguments? Okay, we're talking about marital communication. Okay, there's only one husband and wife here now, but
You mean husband and wife talk?
Husband, that is the shocking thing that you learn after you've been married a few years, is that husband and wife talk. No.
I thought it was just, she tells me what to do and I do it.
And that's the question. That is the question that we're going to try to turn toward in the discussion, is why is it that the longer men are married, the quieter they become? Because we find safety in silence. I'm not being told what to do, and I'm not bothering anybody, therefore I might get overlooked when the division of tasks comes out. But who could tell me, in a normal marriage, what are the most common areas of conflict? What is going to spark an argument the most? What do most couples argue about
Money.
in a marriage? Money.
Finance.
Finance is number one. Okay.
How to raise your kids.
How to raise kids. Okay. It is also, among those things, those are right, but one of the most common things that starts an argument in new marriages and mature marriages is, what is this? A trash can. Who's taking out the trash, and why didn't you do it without me having to ask you?
You gotta put it in the marriage contract.
Hold on, this is a communication class. The second one is, what is this? It's a bowl. What does it become when it's used and then no longer used? It becomes, not trash,
Dirty.
it becomes a dirty dish. And what do you have to do with dirty dishes? Clean them and put them away. In most normal marriages, and normal being defined as we have our arguments, but we're not on the way to being divorced. We're not extremely dysfunctional to where we're staying together, but we don't like each other, and we just coexist. We're talking about opening everybody's door, and no matter how great you look now, everybody has dealt with dysfunction in their marriage, because you're dealing with people, and people are not perfect, and people come in all kinds of packages and all kinds of attitudes, right? So we catch each other at bad times, we speak to each other improperly, and that leads to days-long problems in good marriages. And when you have marriages who've adapted to dysfunction, suddenly that becomes something you don't talk about. And next thing you know, you're going 9 rounds over who's taking the trash out or not taking the trash out. And you're fighting about this, but none of you realize why, and none of you get to what the real issue is. The issue is communication. how to do it. But guess what? There is no perfect way to communicate, nor, and I know since I have a predominantly female class today, I'm gonna say something that I'm gonna feel the mood. It's like the tide going off the sand and going away from me. I know this. But criticism is not communication. To criticize your spouse is not communication. Okay? That is important. Criticism, I will handle it in its proper context. Everything that I'm talking about here, okay, I'm going to set ground rules for what we're talking about so that hopefully I can make this a participation class and not a lecture class. Okay? Everything that I'm talking about here, I don't have a whiteboard to write it up, but on our first week that we were together, I made a little diagram here, and it was like a timeline. It was a straight line, and it had two lines cutting that line off. We measure our ideas. When I say communication, we all measure our ideas, that idea of communication, on a timeline. And we measure it by its deficiencies and by its excesses. So when I say love, we measure that by the lack of love, or loving attitude, or loving actions, and by the excess of love. What is excess of love? That's obsession, that's stalking. That's where love goes into a deep, dark area that you can't let go. I don't know everybody's story. I see a little bit more gray hair here than not gray hair, so I'm going to say with confidence that all of us have lived lives and all of us have dealt with good and bad in our lives. So realize when I say certain things, that may key on somebody when you're dealing with an abnormal situation. But I'm trying to talk about marital communication in the broadest sense of how do we learn to communicate with each other when, and this all goes back, I want to put it in proper context, this goes back to Genesis chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Why do I go back to the beginning of time? Because when we left the Garden of Eden, what happened? We ate of the fruit of what? Knowledge, the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God cursed us, and in one of those curses he said what? I'm going to put enmity between him and her. All of this comes back to, we were designed to get along. We have been cursed with, I'm going to put two people together, you're going to become one, and none of you think the same way. You women think of us men as just hairy women, so we should just get it. We should just understand, and I don't have to tell you. And we men look at you women as emotionally immature, emotionally diffuse, can't focus on anything, and emotion gets in the way of making a clean, rational decision. You're just irrational men. So what that is just means that is the way we approach communication. That's our focus. That doesn't mean we can't communicate, right? Because I can tell you, could you please get up and empty the trash? Clear communication, we speak the same language, you can do that. The filter in marital communication becomes, why, I will be your husband for this moment, why have you spent 4 days walking past a full trash can and not done it, and why do I have to tell you to empty the trash can when you can see just the same as me? The trash can is full and you're not doing it because you're trying to send me a statement and I'm ticked off now because you're not doing what you should be doing. There's a reason for that, okay? And I'm gonna go, this is where the class will get a little disorganized, but I'm gonna go forward in time and then come back and explain it. There's a reason for that, ladies. The reason is the man is actually not being difficult. He's not, I'm gonna surprise you, but he's not being difficult in a normal marriage with nothing going on. The man is not, because he literally does not see what you see. Because he got off the couch to go make him a cup of coffee, to grab a snack from the refrigerator, and then go out to the garage to organize his tools. He is single focused. I have made a thought in my mind. I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm going here. It is rational, it is logical, and I'm going to do just what I need to do to accomplish that task. And everything else falls away. And you look at it and go, he just walked by that to tick me off because he knows that a full trash can ticks me off and he's trying to pick a fight. There could be nothing further from the truth. But that I'm using that as the point to illustrate that men literally do not see what you see. They just don't, because we have single focus. Okay, so what does that mean? How to communicate. Why is it? Can women tell me? Here's the question. Why is it that when we men, husbands, are performing a task, are doing something, and let's just say we're on one of our honeydews. You have said, can you mow the lawn and can you fix the eave because it needs painting and it needs nailing and it needs taken care of and there's a shingle that's hanging down. We all know it. We all see it. There's some home repair. I am off the couch on Saturday doing what you have asked me to do. I am doing it now for 3 hours trying to get all the things done. I've gone to Lowe's or Home Depot and I've come back and I'm setting all my tools out. Why, women, here's the question, why is it that 3 hours into a task, and you know the answer to this, men don't, but why is it that you use that time to come in and go, how you doing, sweetheart? Is there anything I can do to help you? I see you're doing it. Are you going to continue on? And tell you what, when that's done, can you come and do something else? You choose that moment. Why do you feel compelled? Not everybody. Not every time, but why is it, because this would be a complaint of men, why is it that women choose the middle of a task in which to come and bother us? Again, I'm using the word from our standpoint. Why do you come at that moment to talk to us? Do you know why? No? See, go ahead. But there can be right and wrong answers. The only thing I ask is that if you had this argument the night before, don't use this opportunity to continue the argument. Use it as an opportunity to speak in generalities. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it kind of happened yesterday because I wasn't really doing anything, sitting on the couch, and he was out working in the garage. But I went out because there's things that he can be doing out in the garage that worry me that he gets overthinking. So that's really what I went out for. That's why I guess I don't.
Okay.
I
No.
said, yeah,
There is. Again, there are 1,000 different answers.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, do you wives or women, speaking in different contexts in which we live, is there a time that you feel, I've been ignored for the last 6 hours. He's doing all of this, he's not paying attention. He spoke to me a little harshly when I passed him by in the kitchen with the coffee, he might be ticked off at me, I'm not sure. And you become, not like we're headed for divorce, unsure of our relationship, but you don't know where you stand in the scheme of things. Maybe you had an argument that lasted for a couple of days and you're just in the calm stages, but you haven't cleared the air. But you choose that moment to go and talk to your husband, and he snaps at you, and you go away feeling offended, and he's angry because you're trying to talk, but we're not really saying why. Generally, the reason why, not all the time, but generally, it's you feel a lack of connection. You're feeling bored, you're feeling lonely, you're feeling, he hasn't told me he's loved me or done something nice for me. Again, not knowing what all of y'all's love language is in. But some of you could care less whether you're told I love you, bring me a cup of coffee and pat me on my head and say, good job. That's what's meaningful to you. Don't give me a hug. I don't know. Whatever that meaningful thing is, hasn't been done. And so you use the time, because you've been ignored for a bunch of hours, to say, why don't you tell me how you feel about me that has nothing to do with the task that you just asked me to do? And we both go away angry. Again, marital communication. I love this. How many wives say, I love this person, but I really could grab an iron plate and bash him upside the head right at this moment? You know?
Cast iron skillet.
My standard joke personally with my wife Allison is, sweetheart, we've been married 29 years now. This means that had I decided to murder you the first time that I thought about it, I'd be out of jail by now. And that brings me joy and happiness. I don't actually mean it, but it's, what is it about love that engenders the feelings of anger in marital communications, that this person frustrates you more than anybody else? It's the differences in communication styles that we have. That is what I am trying to bridge.
Well, the thing is, I've never been married, so I don't know that experience there. But I observed my mom and dad, how they dealt with their marriage. And part of it is they set defined roles that they are expected to do in the family structure. You know, dad is the breadwinner, so he's doing a lot of that. At the same time, they expected mom to do stuff around the house to there. And so when, one, you got to define the roles of husband and wife and what they're expected, each spouse expected them to do. That's the first thing, part of the communication between, you know, in the marriage. But then if they don't follow through with some of that, guess what? There's that friction that comes up that says, why did you not do this? Why did you wash the dishes? Why did you, whatever. It just, it seemed like that's the first part of the marriage, is defining what you expect each other to do in your roles in the household. If you don't have that, I hate to be in that, really in that house at that point.
And even once the roles are kind of, well,
I mean,
my wife and I have never had that conversation.
okay,
You know how I find out what my role is?
she tells you.
When the trash gets full, the trash bag comes out of the trash and is set down right next to the trash. She doesn't argue. She doesn't yell. It's the trash is picked up and set next to the trash can in a clean trash. What did she just do? She just communicated. That's your job. There was no conversation about that. It just became, some things are. You are correct.
Yeah, the thing is that, back when I was growing up, it seemed like the family unit was more defined in roles and stuff compared to today, where you have the wife also working and doing the same thing as, like a man in a way. And, back in that time, mom stayed home and dad worked. And so there was a lot of defining roles at that point.
Huge.
And so today, that's not the case, because you got wife doing the same thing, working and stuff there, and she likes to have a little help around the house, from that standpoint. So
Yes.
I do understand that the roles has changed so much when I was growing up compared to now.
We have, it's now, I'm 54. It's hard to think back. Some of you can do that easier than I can. But 50 years ago, 54 years ago, 1971, for a woman, the society, for a woman to get a credit card was extremely difficult. We don't think about that anymore, but the way society was, so you'd have to go back 60, 70 years, well, there was a plus and a minus. If a woman was by herself, life became exponentially more difficult for her to access the normal things that we men would have, but there was a reason. Women couldn't take out credit, therefore they were not responsible for their debts. They couldn't go into debt. That was, if she did, that was all put on to her husband. Why? There's a reason why. Here, this is going to surprise you. This will remind you as a married person. I'm going to ask you, as being the sole married man beside me, I want you to think back, okay? Because this is different between men and women. When you were dating, showed her you loved her, you got married, you were a young man, responsible for yourself, having a good time. What happened to your mindset when you got married? I don't know, moved into an apartment or moved into a house, but you got married. What is one of the first things you remember feeling and the feeling that happened to you? General, okay. Definition, you took her on as a wife. What does that mean to you?
Well, we both, when we got married, she already owned her own home.
Okay.
I owned my home.
Okay,
So we ended up, hers was a newer house, so.
okay, then let me go back. If you owned your own home, the moment that you got your house, I'm going for a feeling here, when you signed the paperwork to get the mortgage to buy a house, what feeling overcame you? Not the happiness of I'm a homeowner. Once you got past those feelings,
Well, you got the debt.
you have the debt. You have to provide. When men take on a spouse, they stop in the normal transition of things as they stop being irresponsible young man, barely able to know, ooh, here's this cute girl, she likes me, and now she's decided we're going to get married, and all of a sudden you have this feeling of, I've got to provide. I need to take care of. Women, you experience the same thing, but it is a different feeling. And I say that by, there's nowadays, what didn't exist in the time of the Bible is, there's a lot of research done by really smart eggheads that classify this, that men take on the role in a traditional society, Western society, that we have this feeling, I have created this family unit, you've come together to act as one, and now I have to provide for what I have created. And then you have a child, and suddenly, my parents, here's what happened. My parents, when I was growing up, were like, Mark, you are so lazy. I can't believe how lazy you are. And the one thing that people have said to me, my friends throughout life in different places that I've worked, and they go, Mark, you are the hardest working person I know. You never stop. You just go and do and do and do, and you're tired, but you come out and do. Because I got to provide. Because I got to take care of. I have to nurture that which I have created. And if I'm sitting on that piece of furniture in my house called a couch that I look at, then I'm being lazy and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But guess what? That attitude, provide, if it's on its deficient side, you're lazy and not doing what you're supposed to. On the excess side, that providing feeling that we have, that's killing us. There's a reason why men die earlier. That's killing us because we don't stop to take care of ourselves. We don't stop to do the things that we need to do to become healthy because I've got to go do. There is a reason, Ephesians chapter 5, I know we're 10 o'clock and it's the first time I'm referencing a Bible verse in a Bible class. But men and women are told to do different things. And everybody immediately goes to Ephesians chapter 5, and if you don't know the chapter and verse, you do know, wives, submit to your husbands for blah, 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 blah. And what does it say about men? Men, love your wives as yourself, as Christ loves the church. Okay, great, we all know it. By show of hands, men, do any of us hate our bodies and ourselves? Hate ourselves. Do we hate ourselves?
Yeah.
Okay, we got to talk. But none of us don't know how to love our wives. We have a different definition of what that is or what that means, and that's communication, everything I've been talking around for the last half hour. But we're the only ones told to love our spouses. And part of that is because we get so focused on, I need to provide, and providing for us. We didn't live at the time of the Bible, but let's just say the closeness between starvation and eating was a heck of a lot closer then than it was now. But I've got plans. I got a house. I got to take care of the house. I got business. I got people who work for me. Or I got to show up and I got to do work and I got to do all of these things. And we are so focused on everything, we're the only ones told to love our spouse, because while we are providing this great life that we think we need to provide, we're trying to be told, stop. You didn't tell her what your plan is and how to get there, because if I tell somebody what my plan is, that can be used against me. Men, as a natural course of things, protect. We guard ourselves. There is only one place that we feel safety, even amongst my best friend in the world. There is only one place that I let my guard down, and that is with my spouse. That she is the only one who knows what I'm thinking and feeling, because that could be used against me by somebody who might be a friend, who's not a friend, who turns against me and now wounds me. So guarding is the most base desire, in addition to sex, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But guarding is the most base feeling of a man in his communications. And we're told, love our spouse, and let your yes be yes and your no be no, and okay, I'm going to do what the Bible teaches and I'm going to be honest and open. Great. And then our wife comes in and says, sweetheart, how do I look in this dress? Sure, okay, I'm going to tell you that. Why do we react that way? You think, this is where marital communication, you're asking something entirely reasonable starting from your point of view. Tell me that I look beautiful in this. But that's not what you said. And you're speaking to a man who's thinking literally, not figuratively. And you just said, let me be honest. Sweetheart, you got 3 dresses that look better than that on you, and you put on 5 pounds, but I love you anyway. We're not going out tonight, and we're going to talk about this. That doesn't happen. You want us to be honest, and the only thing that we know that we can't do is to be honest, because that is a trap. So this is where communication is not criticism. Communication is not, for men, is not dictating what is going to go on here now. That is not communication. Like you said, the chores, taking out the trash, those are things that in a normal marriage that we should be doing. But communication is a wife not reading into his lack of doing dishes and taking the trash out as a personal affront, and everybody knows that it should be done. You're the only one attaching emotion to it in a normal set of circumstances where we're not battling over this. Okay? But in a normal set of circumstance, if you come and say, sweetheart, the trash is full and the dishes are empty, I am feeling overwhelmed, and I don't feel like getting up and doing it. Can you please do this for me because it is weighing on me emotionally? There is not one man who loves his wife when you put it in those terms, when I'm tired and don't feel like doing anything, just like you, that I will go, fine, I'll take care of it and I will do it, because those words that you just used is communicating to your spouse, I need you to provide comfort for me. And to provide for a man is love. I don't provide for you. I like you. I know you. I talk to you. We have a good... I don't provide for you because you're not somebody that's in my family that I'm responsible for. So when you speak in a manner that appeals to my provision instincts, every man who cares about you will get you'll even get your son, who can't be trusted to tie his shoe, if you speak in that, a teenage son, would get up and do that for his mom because he cares about it, but you spoke to him in the manner that he understands the feeling you're trying to convey. Okay? What that is, ladies, you are much better, we all know, you are more endowed with the ability to speak than men, right? You just know. You can say a lot of words. Although I have met a few men who can out-talk me and talk me into silence. There's not many, but I have the gift of gab. But that, just because I say a lot of words, doesn't mean that I convey the meaning correctly. Okay? Words are like the coffee cup. Like I say, trash, take out the trash. That is a coffee cup. That is the concept of that word. What we're trying to talk about here, ladies, is what is this right here? If this is the coffee cup, what is this? It's the handle. Words give us a handle in order to grasp the concept. Communication is the coffee cup. I want to tell my husband I am too tired right now emotionally to do the work. I need you to step up and do the work. And what I need you to do is do it in a way without griping about it. So I'm going to use the handle. I am going to communicate in a way that conveys the concept to you correctly, so that you will do what I know. Nobody wants to be mean to their spouse in a normal marriage. If you've gone through a divorce, you know that there's a certain point that my words just became a lie. That there is a point where you tear down and you destroy and you want to be mean. That is the excess and the deficiency of that word of communication. but we're talking the broad sweep of things. When you are talking to people that we care about, we try to use the concept and try to use the words that convey the idea without causing an argument and appealing to our best natures. Because men, when we are doing, okay, it's so old as to be a cliche, as the husband, man and woman get married, and the woman goes 5 years down the line, why don't you tell me you love me? Sweetheart, I told you on our wedding day, I'll let you know when things get different, okay? That would be the male way of thinking about it. I told you, I checked off. Men are kind of like the blender, the blending bowl. You put it in, it stays. When you tell us, I love you, when you tell us, I care about you, when you tell us, trust me, that stays with us like a blender. And all gets mixed up and it goes no place until you empty the blender. Men, when we come downstairs and go, sweetheart, you're more beautiful today than you were yesterday. I love you. Here's coffee. Thank you. I care about you. You're great. You're wonderful. Outfit looks great. You're looking thinner than I've ever seen you. Why do I have to say it again after lunch and tomorrow morning? Because women are relational, and we don't understand that word. But a lot of effort is spent by women understanding where they stand with everybody and that the relationship is still good with everybody. They're like the sieve that you or what am I trying to, the sieve, when you put flour on something, you shake it out and it goes all through. That is women. That's why it never sticks. They're not being difficult. They're not preening peacocks saying, I need to manipulate you into telling you how great I feel. No. To them, they have a feeling of, if I do not make sure that this person who I've chosen still loves me and cares about me, he's not going to provide, and therefore I am in danger. And that brings rise to her becoming more manly and masculine and taking those traits on to where I can't trust you to provide. I can't trust you to tell me the truth. I can't trust you to do something, therefore I must do it. And suddenly, you're looking at your wife going, I don't recognize you. It's because you kept stepping back, men, and allowing and forcing her to become something that she is not normally. And yet, women, at the same time, to put an idea on it, and this does hold true with research, you really do look for us to be your Prince Charming. That we are the knight in shining armor coming in, that when I get in trouble, there is somebody there to protect me when I get myself in trouble. That there is somebody standing between me and danger, and that's what I need to protect me. And some of you don't mean to, because you don't know you're doing it, but what was Prince Charming before he became Prince Charming? You're fraud farmers. You are fraud farmers. You take a strong, virulent man who wants to be your champion and you turn him into a frog because you argue and you criticize and you demean and you pester. And you turn Prince Charming into a silent, we joked at it here, why do old men get quiet? Because there's safety in silence and I'm not being asked to do anything and I don't get in trouble when I don't open my mouth. And I don't care about I know you know that. We don't care about if I get in trouble with them. It's when I open my mouth and I get in trouble with her, and then that becomes an issue that I have to argue. And is it worth arguing when you say, the sky is not blue? I'm not going to argue with you about an irrational statement because that's going to tick my wife off. And so I'm just going to sit and go, yeah, okay, the sky's not blue. Because it doesn't matter enough to man to argue over this issue when you're saying you embarrassed me in front of my friend by saying you're an idiot. The sky's blue. That's why we become silent. Why do we walk around? Okay, this class is all turned into introduction. I didn't get enough into actual explanation, but I knew this was going to move into a second, maybe a third week. But the concept of there are ways in which to speak to each other that we can appeal to the best nature of who we are by women understanding who men are and what we want to do and what love means to us in the broad sweep of things. There will be differences. If you are a feminine man, and I don't mean that effeminate, I just mean you have more female traits because maybe you were raised by a single mom, and single moms do not know how to raise boys. And they do not know how to show, here's how to be a man. They do not realize in every time we open our mouth between men, there is an implied level of danger. That when I go to Bobby and say a certain word, I'm going to expect to get punched in the mouth because he's a man and he's going to defend himself. That does not exist between women. You just talk it out and keep talking, or you talk behind her back and give her an eating disorder because you spread rumors about what's going on. You handle things different because you do not expect to get punched in the mouth in relations between each other. A man does. That is inherent. Violence is inherent in this relationship. You don't understand that. The same way that we don't understand, and I'm going to finish up with the most difficult concept. When we ask our spouses, the second most important part of marital relationship, when we say, honey, it's been a while since we've had sex, could we have sex? Most reaction, I have only spoken to about 4 or 5 different women on this besides my wife, but you take that statement and you feel pressure. He's asking me to do one more thing and I'm sick and tired and I don't feel like it and none of this. It's not what he's actually asking. You take it as pressure, you take it as revulsion from I don't feel like this, but that's not what the man is actually asking for. But we don't know how to ask in a way that disarms your defenses of get away from me, stop trying to paw me, give me space. That's not what we're asking for. But we don't have any other words for it. There is actually a way to do those things that we get what we want without making it difficult for each other. That's all I'm saying. There is actually a way to do some of these things. Next week, oh shoot. Okay.
You're not going on another fishing trip, are you?
I'm not going, no. I do have,
Stay home.
the next 2 weeks, I am going to be gone. I'm sorry, I forgot. The next 2 weeks I'm gone. I got a memorial I have to go to. I have a responsibility next weekend that I have to get to. Or no, excuse me, next weekend. Next week I will be here and I will wrap up the communication class. The following 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of May, I will be gone and we will have somebody else here. But I have obligations that I can't get out of. But I will actually next week give you the concept and give you the phrases that help our communication with marriage so that we don't just beat each other down because we're angry with each other. All right? Thank you very much.